Hello and welcome to another edition of Business and Financial Raw Talk. I am LaWanna Bradford and I am excited because we have a dynamic guest on the show this evening. He has been on our platform before, and that is none other than the amazing Dr. Shawn Fair. Dr. Fair is the founder of the Leadership Experience Tour. He is also the CEO of Shawn Fair Consulting. He travels the world inspiring and mentoring entrepreneurs, as well as working with C-suite leadership in how to navigate this environment, how to rise up as a leader, one that's trusted and one that's making impact. He believes that you can't do this as a solo journey, but it's about teamwork. His whole mission is to inspire, encourage, uplift, motivate, but ultimately leave impact. And I don't want to give away all of his story, but in just a moment, you will meet none other than the amazing Dr. Shawn Fair.
My name is Shawn Fair, and welcome to the Leadership Experience Tour.
It gives speakers an opportunity to really put themselves on the marketplace.
It is impactful for your development as a speaker.
My job is to identify what's on the inside of the speaker and bring it to the outside.
If you're an inspiring speaker, for a bio, for photos, for current video, where are you going to get a whole package deal? At the Leadership Experience Tour.
Hey.
Welcome. How's it going, Shawn?
All is well. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. Thanks for taking time out of your schedule. I know you're about to head off again.
That's right. No, but thanks for the invitation. I was looking forward to it. We've been trying to get this together for some time, and we finally did.
Yes. Well, the time is now, and this conversation couldn't be any more relevant. It's all about shift, and the shift is here. And so we're asking you, the audience, are you leading it or chasing it? And if you're chasing it, have you hitched yourself to the right wagon? Because you could be chasing the wrong thing, and next thing you know, things have happened so rapidly, you find yourself spiraling out of control, falling off a cliff, and ultimately becoming obsolete. So this is all about how do you remain relevant? How do you keep your eyes on what is happening, your fingers to the pulse of change, and rise up in leadership? And that's why I felt that Shawn Fair was the person to be here, because he is not only here domestically in the United States, but he's interfacing with leadership around the world. So he's getting the different perspectives, different insights. And what we're finding is the whole world is spiraling with change, right? Right, Shawn?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's a great time to talk about it, with, all of the different changes that have occurred over the past, I would say maybe 10 years, talking about change and shift and how do you pivot and how do you work and manage people. Like this is the time to do it, with the pandemic and, what that has done to the work environment and how it's shifted and changed, how the work environment needs to be in order for people to be productive and doing their jobs. Like this is the time.
Yes, and that's a perfect springboard into this question, because I like to sit into workforce and future of work and what does it mean, because the pandemic kind of gave us the opportunity to have your hybrid or your virtual workforce, and then now we have new technology coming in, which is taking the place of workforce. So I'd like you to just sit in this for a moment and walk us through just what you're experiencing when it comes to the shifting face of workforce, both as an entrepreneur and in corporate.
Well, I think that, AI is like the biggest thing now, right? In the corporate space and as an entrepreneur. And the question becomes, if I'm in the corporate space, like how do I navigate as an employee? Because that's one of the biggest issues right now. Now, AI can do so many different things, and a lot of employees are worried about their jobs. And, I just did a news segment on Fox 2, and one of the things that I communicated was, I don't think we have to be so concerned about AI, taking over our jobs, right away. I don't think there's a major concern with that. But I do think that employees need to learn AI and how to use AI to make them more productive in doing their jobs, and also being proactive and sharing that information with the employer. When the employer knows that you have some expertise in a particular area, such as AI, and you found ways to make your job more productive, and maybe even other ways other employees can be more productive using AI, I think you become a valuable asset to the organization. So you just have to have a mind shift, in today's environment. Learning AI, being a pro in your job, and understanding how AI can benefit you and the organization, I think is the shift that has to happen within an employee's mind in today's corporate America.
I love that. And you echo what Mark Cuban said, which is what's going to happen. It's not so much the AI takeover, but you becoming obsolete because you refuse to understand how AI can complement or enhance what you do. Right. So how do we, and I love what you said, it's a mindset shift. The world of business has changed rapidly, right? When we think about from the industrial age forward, and each lane of change gets shorter and shorter and shorter, which means we have to be more agile, more adaptable than ever before. We can't say, well, I'm going to sit and wait and see what this AI is going to do, right? You just got to pick it up. You have to move. And I think our children, because they grew up in a technological, digitally saturated world, they're far more responsible and adaptive than those of us that may have had our foot in traditional ways of doing business and slowly adapting to computer technologies and other things. And I want to ask you this, Shawn, because I talk to many people and they're still saying, and this is on the entrepreneur front, it may be different in corporate, but entrepreneurs are like, well, if things will just go back to the way they were, I know what I was doing. It was working fine. And I really don't know if I really have to pick up this whole AI thing because I'm not in tech anyway. What would you say to that?
I'd say it really depends on what kind of business that you have, right? If you have the business and you're a technology business and you're an entrepreneur, well, I would say that you really need to get on the ball in learning AI because, that's where everything is going. But like if you're a coach and you're a consultant, right, there are certain things that you do need to know about AI, but I don't think that it needs to take over your entire business. Although AI is just a wealth of information, it doesn't take the place of human interaction and human discernment. And it doesn't take the place of human delivery and helping those that you're communicating to accept the information that's actually being communicated. I'm talking about if you're a coach, right? AI can't be the end all and be all. And let me also state as well is that, it's important for us to show that we're capable of using AI in our business in some way, shape, form, or fashion to let people know that we're on the cutting edge of technology. But for example, people are using a lot of the AI graphic design work. And I could tell you, I love the fact that it's made life easier for everybody, but it looks like everyone's design work is the same because everyone is using the same software, right? The colors are the same. And it's hard to differentiate, one brand versus another brand, right? So when you have, authentic graphic design work, I think it sets you apart, from everybody else, right? I think it's great to use when it comes to your spell check and your grammar, right? It's great for helping you to deliver a message, right, written right to people that you want to deliver your message to. There's a lot of great components to it, but at the same time, I don't think that you can just have your business and just put the AI stamp in every aspect of it. The human aspect of building and creating a business and working with people, I still think is a very valuable aspect of business.
And I love what you said there. And I really want us to sit in those two areas and really unpackage it. One point you're talking about the humanity and not losing our humanity, even though there's AI and synthetics and other things that are coming, generative AI. But then you also said about the branding. And how everyone does look the same. And you're right. And I've noticed that. I'm thinking, my God, it's just a different color, but it's the exact same thing. So let's go to the human equation. And what you said AI cannot do. So we know it can sound human, right? But it cannot feel. It does not have lived experiences. It only can deduce logically whatever we feed it.
That's correct.
But it can't anticipate, it can't love, it can't feel pain. So what would you say to individuals who are, I believe, are becoming lazy in that we are relinquishing our higher faculties of innovation, creativity, will, reasoning, and deferring it to AI? And what could happen to those particular individuals who become so dependent on AI to do their thinking? I mean, they're like, there's no innovative thoughts. There's no creativity. You just throw something in and let AI spit out something, versus that person who, as you said, can use it as a tool, but realizing from a human standpoint, human interaction, there's things it cannot do, and it cannot replace the heartbeat, right? The lived experience, the passion, the stress, the everything that we go through as human beings. Dr. Fair.
It's a challenging situation because we're using AI so much, like the human brain is not being exercised, which means that we are slowing down. But on the other hand, we're pumping so much information into AI. AI is actually speeding up. It's getting smarter. So while we're trying to be more efficient and executing our jobs or building our businesses by using AI, right? We are feeding technology and it is growing at a rapid pace. Meanwhile, we're slowing down, like mentally, the way that we think and the way that we process and the way that we write, right? All those things are slowing down because we're not using those skill sets like we used to use those skill sets. The other thing that I want to mention too is that, AI does level the playing field on the surface, but now it's very hard to determine what companies are the best companies, what entrepreneurs are the best entrepreneurs to work with, what coaches are the best coaches to work with, right? Because everything has a falsity to it around, right? Everything is so AI, it's hard to determine who should you work with, who shouldn't you work with. See, now you can't tell because now everyone can do the same thing because AI is doing this person's work and AI is doing this person's work. And this person over here has a much higher skill set than this person does over here. But on the surface, they're on an even playing field because AI has done that for them. And that's the challenge, with using this technology, the way that we use the technology.
Yeah, that's really a mic drop, and let's sit and chew on that for a moment. It does level the playing field somewhat, and it creates an illusion, and that is pretty scary for someone who's looking for the provision of a service specifically. Yeah. And a person has presented themselves through the AI lens as this expert, looks good on paper, but then after you've paid your thousands and thousands of dollars, you're not getting anything. Right. Or they're saying, wait a minute, I'll get back to you. And they throw something into chat or Gemini or whoever their buddy is, to feed you back the information you need. And I want to share this with you. I know an individual, and I'm certain we all do. Mm-hmm. This person has zero background in what they are doing as a small business owner, no experience whatsoever. But because of AI, they've created this amazing facade. The branding looks slick, their website polished. Again, they've never done it before. And I often wonder if they get on a stage or in a room with experts who've walked the walk, what are they going to do? Are they going to have their phone and say, hold on one moment. Let me give you the answer to that question. I wonder, how are they going to be able to respond and really be able to level up with peers who are, like yourself, subject matter experts in your particular lane? I'd like you to address that.
Yeah, it's like the old movie, the Wizard of Oz. And you know how everybody thought that the Wizard of Oz was this great god, and he was big and he was massive. And then when they finally met him behind the curtains, he was just a small man that was smaller than they were. And that's what AI is doing right now. And you know, even the pictures, you know, that people are putting out, you know, have you ever noticed this, LaWanna, that the pictures that AI is generating for an individual doesn't look like the actual person? I don't know if you notice that.
Yeah.
And then when you meet the person, who are you? They know who you are, but you don't know who they are. Like I can't tell you how many times that's happened to me, right? But it's such a travesty the way this is happening and the speed that is happening at. Now, let me just say this: for those that, you know, they have a business and their business was generated through AI and they're really not an expert, well, you're absolutely right. One day they will have to go on the stage, and one day they will get in front of people, and they're going to get in front of people that have some level of expertise in that area, and they'll get asked a question, and then the question is going to be, can this person answer a question? Is it a knee-jerk reaction, right, when someone asks them a question? And if they don't have a knee-jerk reaction to that question, right, you can tell right off the bat that they're not an expert at it, right? And so that becomes problematic when you actually have to face people, right, face to face, right? Even if you studied through AI, again, if you don't have the lived experience, there's just certain things that you're not going to be able to answer. And if you're going to work with somebody, if you're going to work with a coach, if you're going to work with a consultant, right, you want to work with someone who's actually done the work, right, and done the research, right? Those are two components that you need to look for when working with anybody. Has the person that you're working with done the very thing that you're trying to do? That's always the big question.
And you know, and this is something you and I will talk about outside of the show, but based upon that particular problem you just identified, it's becoming more and more challenging to really be able to vet the authenticity of who people say they are. And so I've been working on an application that can enable individuals, through populating it with the right information, determine first, how are they showing up, you know, on the digital playing field, but then how are other people showing up? And you don't have to invest lots of money in private investigations and background investigations, but there's certain things that are there that can give you an indicator that, I hear this over here, but like, for example, if you're saying and I want to get into the leadership experience tour, I'm a speaker. I'm an expert at training speakers. I'm an expert at training speakers to find their message, to attract the right audience, and to monetize. That's what you say.
Yeah.
But if I'm looking for you online and I can't see any event that you've ever spoken at, I can't see any article written about you, I don't see any testimonials of anyone saying, wow, Dr. Shawn Fair is the person to follow, then what does that do to your credibility?
You have none. You really have none. That's why people need to really do their due diligence, no matter who you're working with in what industry. If I go to someone's page and 85% of the posts that they push out is AI, that's a red flag. It's a total red flag, right? So now, unless you're a person who's training on AI, well, that's a little bit different. But if you're in a different industry, if all your posts on all your pages are AI, you know, it's a total red flag for me, right? The other thing is that when you have a conversation with whomever that you're working with, I'm gonna ask them, tell me your story. Where did you start, right? Tell me, how did you get from point A to point Z, which is the very reason why people come to Leadership Experience Tour on the very first day that they're with me. In the very first hour, I take them through a 120 slide presentation that takes them all the way back from the day that I started the business, and they can see all of the dysfunction. They can see all of the bad pictures and the bad video work and all the challenges that we had when we first started to where we are now. I want them to understand that I actually went through that journey. But if no one has any documented proof of that, and they're not willing to share that with you, you can only see the positive side of the business, and the majority of the positive side of the business is AI generated, then I would say run and find somebody else to work with.
Yeah, I love that. And I know when I went through the tour 3 years ago, that for me, because I'm very, very private, and I know when you were saying, well, tell your story, and I'm like, okay. And so I stick on like the business side, right? Again, let's talk about the business success. And you're like, but we need to see the human side. There's a human behind this business that's been here for a while. And to share that, to be transparent, wasn't easy. That was hard. It was frightening. But because of you and members in your team, it gave me the safe space to know how to properly develop it. You don't throw everything out there, right, Shawn? But to properly develop in a way where that story makes sense to where I want the audience to go. Because to tell a story that has no purpose, then it just becomes, gossip for other people. So I had to, and I think that's the one thing I want to say about the Leadership Experience Tour is it's a very tough environment, but it's a safe environment. I think for those who are committed to learn and hone their skill sets as a speaker, interfacing with other giants, but then knowing how to own the stage. And let's talk about that, owning the stage, owning your lane, and showing up as that business expert. What would you say to our audience today?
Well, the way that you own a stage is, number one, is by telling a story that helps your target audience come to the realization that they have a particular problem, and whatever program that you have, whatever your business is, whatever service that you provide, becomes the answer to that very thing. Now, in order to help people receive that, there's three things that you need to do on stage and do them very well. And that's engage, educate, and entertain. I've trademarked that, by the way, right? It's to engage, educate, and entertain. It's the 3 E's. And the reason that those three things are so important is because it keeps people's attention the entire time that you're delivering, which means they're receiving all the information that's being given out. And what I find is a lot of speakers that hit the stage, maybe they do one of the three, or sometimes they do two of the three, but they're not always doing three of the three, right? Those are the three attributes of well sought after speakers. So when you have a great message that resonates with the audience and you're able to execute those three things, right? That's a big part of owning the stage.
So I want to ask this of you, because I know I had a challenge. It's like, okay, I've got this message, right? And I think this is all personality type as well. So I'm very used to being bottom line business only. And I was good with, okay, I can educate, definitely, and I can engage. But then when you said entertain, I said, what am I supposed to do? Tap dance or something? I didn't know how to do that. So can you just give a little example for those that are kind of scratching their head, like, what actually am I supposed to do there? And why is entertaining so important?
Yeah, well, listen, there's a lot of speakers that they have a personal story, and that personal story, can be very somber. Well, in our case, there's 40 people hitting the stage, and no one wants to hear 40 somber presentation. That's a long day, and it's going to probably be a bunch of folks with their eyes closed, after a certain time, right? I feel as though that no matter how somber your presentation is, and no matter what trauma you went through in life, right, if you can't tell a little bit of a joke, right, about that very thing, right, a lot of times that means that you're still dealing with the situation. And let me also state that if you can't joke about it, and you're on the stage and you're just crying about the very thing that you're going through, well, you can't help nobody, because that means that you probably haven't gone through it. But the reason that the comedic relief is so important is because people should enjoy the presentation that they're listening to, right? If I can deliver a presentation to make people think, make people reflect, right? Make them go back and feel sad about something that they did or didn't do for an individual, and then bring them out by just telling them there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and there's some comedic relief that just gets them to smile, right, while you're doing your presentation, right? That's the making of a great delivery, but it also is the making of making somebody's day. Right. So it's one thing to help them come to realization they have issues. It's another thing when you can just make them laugh and let them know that although we talked about a lot of hard things here, it's okay. Right. And we can laugh about it. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I think that's healthy, for a presenter to be able to do that. And if you don't know how to do it, it's real simple. Like, find some of your favorite comedians and study them. And watch how they deliver their punchlines. Now, I know some of them are a little vulgar. Like, you got to kind of tune that part out. But like Dave Chappelle, I think he's a great. I don't consider him a comedian. I consider him to be a storyteller, and in his storytelling, he has comedic relief moments in there, very similar to the way a keynote speaker should have in their presentations.
I love that. We are here with Dr. Shawn Fair, CEO and founder of the Leadership Experience Tour, as well as Fair Consulting. And we are talking about the shift is here. Are you leading it and changing it? And right now we are leaning in to the Leadership Experience Tour and the value add that this branding speaker platform brings to individuals around the world. I want to ask you this question. So we have three lanes of speaking. You have the traditional stage, you have hybrid, and you have virtual. Mm-hmm. Is one better than the other, given where our world is, given the financial challenge that people are feeling, corporations are feeling, the advent of more and more virtual conferences? Can people still make, in your opinion, because you've been doing this so long, the same impact, whether you're virtual, in person, or hybrid?
Yeah, I don't think that you can make the same impact when you talk about a virtual stage versus a in-person stage. I don't think you can make the same impact. I do believe that you can make an impact on both stages, but it's always, you can make more impact when you're in front of somebody, right? Because you get a chance to really tap into a person personally, I get a chance to look at you when you're in my audience. I get a chance to look at your eyes. I get a chance to really study your body language. Right? I get a chance to see what I said, what made you move, what made you didn't move. I get a chance to connect, right, when I'm in person with you. And although I can do some of that virtually, I can reach its fullness, virtually. Let me also state that, this is a different business now. Everybody is trying to, let me get these speaker fees, right? I'm going to make a living getting speaker fees, right? It just doesn't work that way anymore. As a matter of fact, it hasn't worked that way in a long time. Is that if speakers are out there trying to build their speaker business and all they're getting is speaking fees, they will fail. They will fail. You can't have a full-time business with just speaker fees. Not right off the rip, you can't. Right? Can I just say that John Maxwell, 85% of his revenue does not come from speaker fees. Les Brown, 85% of his revenue doesn't come from speaker fees. Tony Robbins, 85% of his revenue does not come from speaker fees. That goes for Lisa Nichols. That goes for myself and Dr. Cheryl Wood and Shay Brown and all these other guys. They have platforms, right? It is so important that you have a platform. And I can tell you that even though money is tight right now, there are people out there having massive conferences in person, right? 500, 600, 700, 800 people. The question becomes, do you have the strategy to get people there, right? And you might have to go up by a couple notches with individuals to get them in a really bad economy. But the point is that you can still have great in-person conferences that make a difference.
I love that, because I think some of the fundamental training that we as speakers get, it's focusing on speaking and either getting it from the stage, from facilitation, something, but you're not taught to develop, as you said, this conference, this summit around the platform, and then creating an ecosystem. And so I'd like to go into, if you don't mind, however much you want to share, the Leadership Experience Tour ecosystem, because it started, if you could tell me, let me back up a little bit. I'd like you to tell the story of how you ended up in multiple theaters nationally.
Okay.
Give us that piece as a bookend, and now go forward to that moment in time to now this massive ecosystem that you're developing.
Yeah. Well, first of all, the Leadership Experience Tour wasn't something that was on my radar. I was just, when I left corporate America, I was going out and I was training executive leaders and mid-level managers on servant leadership. And I was doing that frequently. So as I was going from company to company and state to state, working with all of these organizations, I was posting on social media. Like, here, I'm in California and I'm working with this company. I'm in Texas, I'm working with this company. I'm in New Jersey, I'm working with this company. And I was doing this for about 2 years. I was posting like all these different places that I was going. And you know what that I learned through that process is that when you post things, that there's a lot of people that's watching that doesn't comment, they don't like, right? There's no interaction, but it doesn't mean that folks are not watching. But after 2 years of doing that, I got a phone call from Imagine Theaters. The CEO, his name is Paul Glantz, and I'll never forget it. I was in Dallas, Texas, and he called me up and he says, hello, is this Shawn? I says, yeah, this is he. He says, you probably don't know who I am, but my name is Paul Glantz. I'm the founder of Imagine Theaters. And I didn't know who he was, but I knew Imagine Theaters because I go to his movie theaters all the time. And he says, we would like to have a conversation with you. And I wasn't in town at the time, so I says, I'm not here to have a conversation with you. Can we have the conversation over the phone? He says, no, this has to be in person. Well, that next Tuesday when I got back to Detroit, I went to his office. I walked in the door. The secretary knew exactly who I was. Hey, Mr. Fair, how you doing? I said, I'm doing just fine. Right? She kind of took me back a little bit. I'd never met her before. And she says, Paul's expecting you. And I go to the back into his office and he's on his phone. He tells me, just hold on 1 second. And the first thing he says was, hey, Shawn, I just want to let you know that we're in the Shawn Fair business. I said, oh, really? What do you mean by that? He says, we've been watching you over the past 2 years go from company to company, and you have an audience. And we were wondering if you can take your audience from the corporate classroom like bring them from the hotel conference room and send them here with you to the big screen at Imagine Theaters and turn your leadership training into a production. And that's how everything started. And I asked a bunch of questions like, what do I get for doing something like that? He said, my house is your house. You can choose any theater you want. You don't have to pay for it. He says, how much would you charge an individual to come listen to you for 90 minutes in my theater? And I said, $100. He says, the only thing I want out of that $100 is $50. Give me half of it. And I did the first show in one of his theaters. We sold it out. And I found out the day later that by selling out that theater at $50, to him and $50 to me, that was like selling out 7 theaters in one shot. And from there, to make a long story short, the Leadership Experience Tour was born from that one phone call. And this is the thing I want to say to everybody, that one phone call can change your life. It only takes one. And that's why I answer every phone call that comes to me, or I return every phone call that comes to me, because you never know what phone call is the opportunity that changes things for you.
Well, that's so powerful, because so many people are busier than the highest elected officials, right? They're busier than the president. They just can't ever get to you, or deferring you to their assistants. And like you said, because you took the call, you allowed yourself to be open, and you never know what gateways will open. I know even when you and I met, we met through an individual that was really encouraging the Leadership Experience Tour, and this person has not gone through it yet. But that's the only way I met you, and I thought, well, that was a purpose for this point in time. And it's I tell everyone, Shawn, and this is, I'm saying this unapologetically, because normally I don't promote people on this platform. I just let them share and sell. But this is definitely a heartfelt, genuine promotion. Your tour is appropriately titled Leadership Experience Tour. I heard about it. I went through the training, did everything you said to do, but it wasn't until I walked through the doors. It's like going to Disney for the first time. There is such a wow factor, a genuineness of commitment to helping people hone their craft, the professionalism around the entire team, from your key grips, your cameraman. Everyone is just, I think, just above par when it comes to excellence. And I have a photo that it shows me when I walk in, and I'm just like this wide eye, like, oh my gosh, where am I? And then the photo shoot with Emma Burkesell. And it's like 2 different people. You can tell it's still LaWanna, but there is a different confidence that was reflected on camera versus when I came there. And so in that short period, those 3 and 4 days, I don't know what pixie dust you have, Shawn, and I'm very genuine about this. I have never, except giving my life to Christ, ever been in a situation where I was mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally transformed in 4 days. Wow. I don't know how you do it, but I was just blown away. I'm like, I felt the change. I felt myself growing in confidence. I felt myself thinking differently about my message, about the network of people. And then after that, so many doors started to open for me. People saw, maybe because I just showed up differently. I thought I was confident. I thought I was showing up in my total power, but maybe I was playing small, and it took Leadership Experience Tour to magnify that for me. Back to you.
Well, thanks so much for that, LaWanna. It's always good to get feedback from people that are doing really big things, and so I appreciate it.
Leadership Experience Tour, it's a fantastic opportunity.
The quality of the product that Shawn puts together is top-notch.
Helps people to connect. It's an experience.
You're going to get way more out of it than you expected.
Value.
The value is just
information with manifestation. That's the leadership tour.
He does teach people how to become great speakers.
Being attached to him has grown my speaking business already.
Don't wait, just do it.
You know, that's what the tour is all about, though. It's not just about all the content that you receive and being on the TV cameras and things of that nature, but it's about opening up your mind, right? And making sure that we open up so the light bulbs go off. That's what it's really all about. And just even with the group that we're working with right now, they haven't even come to the tour, right? We work with them every Monday. There's a call every Tuesday. And you can see the growth, right, in those individuals. And they wonder why we do certain things. Like they have to sell tickets, right, to the actual show. And then people ask, well, why do I have to do that? Well, number one, do you think they pay John Maxwell $75,000 to come in and do a presentation if you don't think he's going to put some souls in the seats, right? There's a reason why he pays that money. It's because he's a draw, right? And if you're new in this business, you have to establish a network. And this is one way that you establish it. And oh, by the way, that you have to sell a platform, and your platform that you're going to sell it for was going to be $5,000, $10,000, $15,000. But you can influence someone to buy a $50 ticket to come see you at a craft that you say that you're gifted at. If you struggle with doing that, how are you going to sell a $10,000 program? Right? That's the message that I get to them. And a lot of times when I have that conversation, immediately after that, all of a sudden they go from 0 ticket sales to 20 in 3 days. Right? Because there's a mindset shift. Our job is to get you to understand how this works and what does your mindset have to be in order for you to execute this at a high level. So it's not just about the content, but it's also about getting people through a process that helps them to change in such a way that they can do this business well enough to replace a reasonable income.
And I like what you said about that whole mindset shift, that people may be sitting on the sidelines, and then you know, through your methods, get them to see that the light bulb comes on, and all of a sudden they go from 0 to 20 ticket sales in such a short period of time. How do transformations like that happen? And it happens because I believe you do have a natural gifting of being able to tap into people's genius and show them how to believe in themselves. Because if I can't believe in what I do, why would someone else stand and applaud me or follow me? You've got to first deal with inside and that ash and trash that may be there, the bubble talk, negative thinking, limiting beliefs, whatever it is, get that out of the way, cleaned up. And you have a way of doing it without telling people you're in mindset training, which I love. I mean, it's so subtle, but it's there, and it's actually central, because once you take the stage, and I want to share this, because, you know, I had my meltdown moment because we have rehearsals once we get there, right?
That's right.
And so I get there, and even though you all explained what to expect, if you've never been in front of multiple cameras and you see people running back and forth, taking photos, it can become distracting. And during the rehearsal, I physically felt ill. I was like, oh my gosh. And I froze. However, somehow between that and 24 hours later, you and your team were like in my head. I rose and I was a different person. And I say that to say it's okay to feel the fear.
Oh, yeah.
But trust the process and do it anyway, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the good thing about how this is set up is that, you know, generally we have about 40 speakers that we're working with for 3, 4, 5 months before we even get to the tour, right? So you're asking, how do I help change the mindset? It's not just me. I share everything and every success that's happening, right? Every time that it happens to an individual, everybody knows about it, because most of the folks that are coming, they have a mindset. I'm asking them to do certain things. You know what their mindset is? I'm going to tell you what their mindset is. I can't do that. The majority of them are saying, I can't do that. I can't sell 20 tickets. right? I can't get 5 people to come, right, from one city to another city to come and watch me in person. I can't do that. But as soon as I get one person to do it and I put it into the chat and I let people know, guess what so-and-so just accomplished, right? All of a sudden, that one person starts to develop influence within that particular ecosystem. And then people start to realize, wait a minute, the very thing that Shawn said you can do, there is a person that just achieved it. See, now the excuse gets pulled away, right? And that's the one thing that the reason I put all these things so people can see it, so that it pulls the excuses away as to why you think that you can't do something, but I got 4 people right here who just did it, right? And then all of a sudden, everybody else starts coming along, right? Because they now think that the impossible that they thought was the impossible is not possible.
And I love that you create this community of support and cheerleaders, because everyone is applauding each other's success. And for me, when I went through it, there is a sense of competition, but not with each other. I was competing with myself to get better and better, to push myself, to get out of my own way, and to realize that my story, my journey, and my lived experience is just that, it's mine. And as I think I said in on your stages, no one's in your lane but you. And I think we get distracted when we start looking to the left and right. What is someone else doing? What is their story? Who cares? It's their story, right? But do you? It's like, have your style, because you have a signature way that you show up and you present. It's going to be different from LaWanna. It's going to be different from, Dr. Anthony Shannon, but it doesn't make it bad. And I want to talk about that, because sometimes, especially entrepreneurs, we see greatness and we want to emulate it.
Yeah.
But in emulating it, we don't realize that we're actually playing less than when it comes to us showing up authentically in our authentic self. Does that make sense?
No, it makes really good sense. I'll give a perfect example. Our chief operating officer, his name is Marcus Wright, really wanted to get into this speaking business and, get on stages and all these different things that, I had been doing for some time. And I used to work with him in hotel rooms and listen to his presentations. And, sometimes they would be so bad I would fall asleep. And the reason that they were bad was because he was trying to deliver like I deliver. It wasn't him. And after he identified that, it took him some time to get that part. But after he identified that, his whole delivery changed. And what he found is that him being him and delivering like him was good enough. Matter of fact, it was great. He's a phenomenal storyteller on the stage. And there's certain things, like I explained to him, there's certain things that he does that I can't do, right? I'm not good off the cuff in front of a television. He is, right? He can go and not really prep, right? Get in front of a camera and give a real detailed, knee-jerk response to a great question or to a hard question or difficult question. He's very, very good at that. And so, like you said, LaWanna, it's important that everyone comes to the tour and find their unique selves, right? That's what needs to show, because people can't connect with me and you. They have to connect with you and you. And that's so important.
You said something to me a while ago, and I want to make sure I get the quote correct. You said, today it's no longer about trying to survive, because people are like, I just need to survive. You said it's all about leading, growing, and thriving, even when things are disruptive. Let's lean into that one a little bit.
This economy that we're in is not what I would call a normal economy. When our president came in, he made a lot of moves that caused folks to have a lot of discomfort. And when that happens, there's a trickle down effect. We're in a marketplace right now where people are holding on to their money, right? There's programs that they probably should join, but they're not willing to take the risk at this point because inflation is high, food prices is high, gas prices is high, like everything is high. That doesn't mean as a business that you can't thrive. The question becomes, do you have the ability to pivot, right? Do you have the ability to create and develop new strategies within this new environment that you're now existing in? And so the one thing that I understood is that trying to fill up my tour by myself was going to be very difficult in this environment, which is why I created partners in this space. And the partners have done a tremendous job at bringing people to the tour to help me establish a bigger and faster, more robust momentum. And so because of the partners that I have, right, I was getting interviews or information calls. I was in information calls 6, 7, 8 times, 9 times a day, right? Which I wasn't doing that before. It never took that to fill up a tour. But those 9 Zoom calls a day was necessary to fill up my tour. And what I found is that my percentage of close was very low. But because I had the volume, right, just closing 2 of those in a day was good enough. I had the volume, I had the momentum, but I had to shift. I had to come up with a new strategy in order to build that type of momentum, right? And so no matter what your environment is, no matter what happens, there's always a way to win. Even in the most difficult and challenging environments, the question becomes, do you have the ability to pivot? That's the big question. And most people struggle with changing directions. They struggle with coming up something that's new and more innovative in order to get them to a level that they need to be based on a new environment. And so that's one of the things that we try to teach at the Leadership Experience Tour is that you got to be a person that has the ability to change when the environment changes.
Yeah, that's the one thing we are creatures of habit, Shawn.
Absolutely.
We like those comfy slippers, and it's like, no, I'm going to hold on to them. But that, unfortunately, can be our downfall. And I believe that if we, even as speakers, if we're doing business the way we were doing it 3-4 years ago, we are possibly on our way to becoming obsolete. So understanding, you've talked about the change, understanding AI, how to use it as a tool, how to keep your authenticity and not be a copycat of everyone else. Make sure that you are the subject matter expert that is proven, verifiable, because people can bet you easier today than ever before. You talked about just the team and the importance of collaboration and knowing that we can go farther together. And again, and I just jumped in and gave my testimonial, if you will, and it's totally genuine. And you can see all the posts that I've done. The Leadership Experience Tour is life-changing on so many levels. You may think you're where you want to be, but when you tap into this group of experts and the mind and vision of Shawn Fair, and I think the important thing I want to say, Shawn, is you tap into our vision. You ask us to first write our vision statement. You're not trying to pull us on your bandwagon. You're like, what is your vision? And then you show us how to make it a reality, right? How to breathe life into it. So I want to personally, say thank you to you if I haven't done so, and I'm doing it on a big stage right now. But I truly, truly am grateful for all that you've done for me and continue to do as I shape and I'm taking things to another level. So much appreciation.
Yes, well, we appreciate you too, and all the things that you do for us at the Leadership Experience Tour. I really appreciate the partnership and just like anybody else, I got blind spots, and you cover some of my blind spots, and that's why I enjoy the relationship so much, because I believe that everyone can learn something from everyone. You just have to be open to do so.
Yes. Well, Shawn, we are almost out of time. I want to just turn it over to you to share anything, lasting words that you'd like with our audience, especially how they can connect with you, the Leadership Experience Tour that's upcoming in August. And if they are looking to take the stage, I know you're already have opened your casting call for speakers for April 2027.
Absolutely. We can take on one or two more, I would call them seasoned speakers for August, because there's only a couple months left for preparation. So if you're a seasoned speaker and you want to be a part of the August show, I got one or two spots that are left. They're overflow spots. These are spots that we overflow because there's one or two or three people that may change to the next show because of life situations. But if August doesn't work for you, that's okay. We also have April 22nd through 24th. We've already started filling up that show, right? The first person that's coming to that show is coming all the way from Singapore. His name is Jeffrey Williams, and we're excited to have him. But if you would like to be a part and you want more information, a few things you can do. You can send an email at Shawn, SHAWN, at FAIR, FAIR consultinggroup.com. Or you can simply just reach out by dialing the number 586-690-1879, or text your information to that number. We would love to hear from you. And once you do that, you'll get a call and we'll schedule some time with you to show you, right, visually what the tour is all about and how it can change your business. You don't have to be a speaker. You can be an entrepreneur and you just want branding content, right, to elevate your brand. We do that for you as well.
If you become 1% better every single day, 100 days from now, you're 100% better. My name is Shawn Fair, and welcome to the Leadership Experience Tour.
My advice for anyone who has not experienced the Leadership Experience Tour is just do it.
Don't delay. Just do it.
Do it.
Do it right now.
You need to be here. So many great things. The synergy is fantastic.
It has been amazing.
It's been going on. We got speakers from everywhere, an amalgamation of speakers. If you are never spoke ever in your life, this is the platform for you. It's called the Leadership Experience Tour.
So the Leadership Experience is all about improving yourself.
This particular tour brings value to the individual, brings value to what you're going to be.
So I'm giving of myself to the Leadership Experience team, but I give so much back. It's a fantastic opportunity.
And this has absolutely been amazing. I've been able to connect with others that have things that are in common, and I've also been able to learn so much.
I saw an opening in the UK and bridging the gap with the USA.
And put you on a platform where your message will go globally all around the world.
Receivership. Because to do the Shawn Fair, and in the UK, is we are going to receive each other and we with the unite. So that is the Shawn Fair. I think that's how I see it, straight off from that. And it's an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much, Shawn. This has been great. We appreciate you and this insight on shift. And again, the question is, are you leading it or chasing it? And if any of you are out there and you want to be a guest on Business and Financial Raw Talk, information is below. We'd love to have a conversation with you, understand your message, because the key thing about this platform is we are looking for leaders, experts, and influencers, individuals who are looking at the world in a very unique way so that we can bring cutting edge strategies, tactics to you so you can elevate your game. So again, thank you so very much, Dr. Shawn Fair, for joining us. We truly appreciate you.
We appreciate you as well.
And to our listening audience, we'll see you next week on another edition of Business and Financial Raw Talk. And just remember that in life and in business, when your vision intersects with opportunity, success is inevitable. Be safe, be well. Bye for now.